Welcome back to the Spaceman Podcast. I'm Roddy Merritt,
I am Cody Russell.
and today I have a very special guest in the building. One of my very best friends. I have two super great friends, and one of them is here with us today, Zack Munger. So I'm going to tell a story about how we met. And the reason I talk about having two great friends is because the other great friend I have, Richard, and Zack are the reason that Zack and I know each other. So fact check me on this story. So basically, about 3 or 4 years ago, well, it's been more than that now. It's been about 5 years, 6 years ago. I was working at a classic collector car dealership, and Richard was also working at that same place as a part-time mechanic because he has a lot of knowledge of and owns classic vehicles. And he was also in school, nursing school at Mississippi College. Shout out Mississippi College. And one night, was a night, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. One night he was in the parking garage, walking through the parking garage, and hears a wrench fall. And he's like, let me go investigate this. Maybe somebody's having car trouble or something nefarious is going on. So here goes Richard trying to find out what it is. And Zack, I wasn't there, but I could just imagine this. Zack has rigged up this engine hoist with like a chain and what else did you have there? Lifting your engine over the beams in the parking garage.
Yeah.
So I'm taking it, the engine's like dangling over your truck. You're trying to get it to go back in there. Richard shows up, probably helps you get it back in there. And Richard's like, hey, you like to work on old cars? I might have a job for you. And Zack shows up the next day, I guess, and gets the job. And so Richard introduces me to Zack, and he's like, hey, this is Zack. He's thinking about working here. And I'm like, hey, how you doing? And then after Zack leaves, Richard comes in my office and goes, what do you think of Zack? And I go, Richard, that's never going to work. And he's like, why not? I was like, one, at the time, Zack had really long hair hanging out from under a ball cap all the way down to his shoulders, almost past his shoulders. And then he had this massive truck. How big was the lift?
Oh, that one wasn't very big. I think that was an 8-inch lift on
Yeah,
that.
but how big were the wheels and tires?
40s.
Yeah, so big,
Good Lord.
big jacked up truck, old, hair hanging out, college student. I was like, this guy's never going to work. Richard's like, give him a chance. And I was like, I'm not giving him a chance. He looks like somebody I'd get in a fight with at a bar. I don't like him. I'm not giving him a chance. He's not going to make it. He's not going to be here long enough. I knew the owner of the business. I was like, he's never going to go for this guy. He's not going to like him. No. And then I think it was maybe a few months later, I was needing to move a car. And I was asking Richard, I think, if he could help me. And he said, well, Zack can help you. He's got a truck and a trailer. And I was like, no, I don't think Zack's going to help me. And anyway, Zack ended up saying, yeah, I'll help you. If you need some help, I can come help you move. And I'm like, all right. And so the rest is kind of history after that. Like, we become best friends, and we were roommates for a while. And now we're doing all kinds of crazy stuff between, like, flying airplanes and building old cars and helping with restorations and just a ton of other stuff. But now we also share the fact that we are business owners. So without further ado, kind of tell people who you are, about your business, and then we'll kind of get into it.
Well, yeah. So first of all, we definitely covered that age-old, you want to make friends, buy a boat or a trailer.
Right, right.
That's really how we started. But, yeah, so as far as business is concerned, I think we officially started out a little over a year ago. So our business is called 132 Fab. What we do is we're not really a fabrication shop like the name implies, but we fabricate and we sell products online. And so it's just accessories for toolboxes to make it really short. And what it started off is I bought a new toolbox, and I said, in my line of work, I work a lot on my computer. I do have a toolbox. I work hands-on, but I do a lot of CAD design on the computer and things of that sort and just administrative work. So I got this new U.S. General toolbox and said, I need a place to mount some computer monitors where it's back out of the way, but
Good old Harbor Freight.
good old Harbor Freight. And so I made a bracket to mount a computer monitor in the slots on the back of that hutch. Posted it on Facebook, and a guy commented and he said, will you sell me one? And I said, no, man, I didn't come here to solicit sales, yada, yada. Like, that's not the purpose. I just kind of wanted to show off my setup. He says, I don't care what you wanted to do. I want that bracket. I said, all right, man, you know what? I'll sell it to you. So I sold him one. I think there was 2 or 3 other people that wanted one. I was like, all right, not trying to make money. I basically just charged them for shipping. At this time, I wasn't, going through any sort of, pirate ship, ship station, anything that gave me good discount on shipping. So I was paying out the wazoo, but basically just sold them for just shipping costs. And I was like, that's all I want to do. Fast forward a couple more months and basically another batch of, hey, I want that. Hey, I want that. Someone had posted something of, hey, check out this bracket this guy made me. I said, okay. This is getting to the point where I can't keep up with it on Facebook Messenger because where people are reaching out to me. I'm ADHD, whatever, so it doesn't take much for me to get overwhelmed. I said, you know what? Let me make a website. And I already, at the time, owned a Facebook page, Instagram page, Twitter, and a domain for this business I had dreams of starting years prior. And so I said, well, let me use what I already own. Mm-hmm. And we'll get into that story in a second. But so I started the website just to give people a place to go and order without having to talk to me, just to streamline that process. And kind of from there, the rest is history. Basically, just started off with that one product, expanded a new line of product that's really taken off and been the bulk of our business since then. But yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell, kind of our background of, what our product is. The interesting story, I think, comes in when we tell the story of what is, how did we come up with that name? It just sounds like a random grouping of numbers and whatever. So, what's the purpose? What's the meaning behind the name?
Right.
And then that gets into kind of what is our mission as I say in air quotes, as a company.
Real quick, before you get to that.
Sure.
So you've been in business right at a year, technically?
Really, first sale was a little over a year and a half ago.
I was about to say, it feels a lot longer than that.
Yeah, it was, that would have been May of 23 was, nice. That U.S. General Series 3 toolbox came out, May of 23. I bought that toolbox the day it came out. Took delivery of it 2 weeks later. I'd already had the bracket drawn up in CAD. I just needed the measurements when it came in to dimension it. And then, it was like literally by the end of May.
So you already kind of had an idea, like, I'm going to get this toolbox and I'm going to need these things. I'm going to try to build them.
Yeah. Really, if we're being honest, I bought the toolbox as a means of securing those computer monitors.
Gotcha.
Like that was the purpose behind the new toolbox purchase.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was like end of May was that first sale of that guy that was like, hey, I want to buy that. And then I would say really January of 24 was when we released our caster spacers. And that's when things really took off. So if we want to talk about like being serious, it's been a little over a year, but like I said, from first sale, probably a year and a half or a little more.
How many total products have you sold since you started?
Just a guess.
Just a guess.
Well, I can give you a good guess on the number of orders we've fulfilled.
Yeah.
That's good.
And we've done to date somewhere a little north of 1,100.
Nice.
1,100 orders.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
for some toolbox accessories.
Right.
I know, right?
Yeah, and when we started out, and I remember Roddy, you and I talking about this when we first started out. I said, "Man, if I could make, if I could do $1,000 a month worth of sales, this thing will be awesome."
Doing a little bit more than that now.
Doing a little more than that, and in the dollars and cents isn't really the big important thing to me. I was just telling this story to another individual, but said and this may end up being our segue into it, but my goal behind the business is to just reach people. Because, spoiler alert, we do have a message that we try to share. And I said, so my goal and my motivation for being successful in business is the more orders we fulfill, the more people we reach, the wider spread that this message we want to share gets. And so that's what really drives me to be successful. So right now, last I checked at least, we're averaging doing about 160 orders a month. So to me, what I hear when I say that is there's 160 people every month that gets to get exposed to our message.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I think you should. I think that's a perfect place to kind of talk about what that message is, where it came from, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So
The name.
like I've kind of alluded to already, I think it was a year and a half, 2 years prior to starting the business and actually using the name for something is when I went ahead and acquired the domains and the social medias and all that. I've got a background in entrepreneurship throughout, high school and college. I've had a handful of various little businesses I've started up and, kind of you name it. And we won't get into the details of all that, but I've always had that kind of entrepreneurial spirit. And so when I got into metal fabrication professionally, I enjoyed what I did. And I said, I'd like to one day start doing something on my own that was in this field to make some, extra money, whatever, maybe even full time one day, do something on my own. And so trying to think the best way to transition into the actual story, but yeah.
Sometimes there's not really a good transition.
Yeah.
You just gotta go for it.
I don't know, go for it.
Yeah, I think it's in the names, kind of like you said.
Yeah.
What? Of course, fab, obviously for fabrication, but what are the numbers for?
So, and I guess I'll just lay it out and then come back and explain it. But 132, 132, at least at the last update and at the time that I used the numbers, I think it was, I forget if it's the FBI or CDC or whoever that had published these numbers. At the time I used them, the statistic was that 132 people daily in the United States of America lose their life to suicide. And that particular topic hits rather close to home to me because in February of 2021, I lost a very close friend to suicide. Friend that I had known since as long as I could remember.
Yeah.
We grew up, went to church together, elementary, high school, and even in college. And in fact, our senior year of college, I was his RA. So, like I said, that was something that really affected me in ways I never realized it would have. Just that lasting effect of unexpectedly losing someone close to you. And so it was actually 6 months, roughly 6 months after his passing that I had acquired the domain and the socials. And like I said, entrepreneurial, I wanted to start a business, whatever. And to me, like I said, I've gone on a few small business ventures in my past. to me, one of the hard things about starting a business, and it sounds minuscule, but coming up with a name.
Mm-hmm.
What do I name this thing?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound goofy, but I don't want to sound pretentious. What do I name this thing? And I remember seeing a video, I think it was probably on Instagram, and it was, to my best recollection, I may be confusing this, but I'm pretty sure it was a diesel shop out in Texas that they specialized in power strokes. Just general repair, but they also would do some performance work, and they had a shop truck that they drag raced. And they had the numbers 23 on the side. And it's like, race cars have numbers on them, whatever, you don't think much of it.
Right.
And I was watching a video and someone asked, like, hey, where'd y'all come up with 23? And the guy said, well, the reason we have 23 on the side of that truck is for you to ask. And now that you've asked, I'm going to tell you about it. And he starts a very similar story to what I just told a second ago. He said, 23 veterans in America every day lose their lives to suicide. Mm-hmm. And we want to talk about it, and we want to spread that message. And we knew that, this truck would get attention at, race events and things of that sort. And we didn't want to have a spotlight on us and not use it for something that we are genuinely passionate about and something that could make a change in someone's life. And so I was inspired by that, and I said, I want to do the same thing. And so I basically hit copy and paste on that, and I said, I'm going to do the same thing. And, almost verbatim, but, not just veterans, but let's just count everybody in this country. Mm-hmm. And, if the statistic were easier, I mean, we could talk about everyone in the world. This is not like we only care about any particular group, but that was an easy statistic for me to find, was just how many people in the country. And so I said, okay, perfect. There it is. And so I grabbed up 132 Fab, whatever I could get, and just held it in my pocket. And I said, I'm going to wait till I decide to start using this.
Yeah.
And like I said, finally decided to start using it. When we first started off, it was just, I didn't really know how to use it other than if somebody asked. Then I ended up adding a page on the website where I tell my good friend Tim's story. And then we ended up we started off with a postcard that we got printed that we would put in every order that had roughly 10 different phone numbers, websites, whatever, just resources. If you're in mental health crisis, in varying different types of crisis, or if you fall on a different category, whatever, reach out to one of these resources. Today, what we're doing is we're doing a business card, and it's a plastic business card, almost like a hotel key. Mm-hmm. And I chose specifically to do that because, for one, the best you're going to do with that postcard is stick it on your fridge.
Yep.
You're probably not going to program the numbers into your phone, right, and you're probably not going to remember them.
Yep.
So I said, okay, well, let's do a business card. You can keep it in your wallet. So now, if ever you're in crisis, pull that thing out. Pull your wallet out, pull the card out of your wallet, and find, hey, where do I need to go on, what website, what phone number do I call, whatever. And then me, just being the blue collar guy that I am, I know from personal experience that paper business cards
they don't
in a
last.
sweaty man's pocket fall apart.
Yep.
And so I said, we're going to get plastic so that thing can survive.
Yep.
And so that's what we've done. So now every order gets one of those. And, I've gotten some feedback from people. I hope that a lot of people are putting those in their wallets or, passing them around, whatever.
Yeah, at the least, you've at least given them like a mental note of what to look for. So.
Right, yeah.
Well, I know, I have it in my wallet.
Yeah.
I carry it everywhere.
Yeah.
And there's been times where, I've been going through, I've got a dot card in there that's got all my business stuff on it. I don't normally carry a business card because I've got a dot card in there. My license is in there, 2 or 3 credit cards. And, you're sifting through trying to find the card you're looking for whatever reason or license. And I've had several people ask me, they're like, what's that? And I pull it out and I get to tell them about your business. And then I tell them what the card's for and that sort of thing. They're like, oh, that's cool. And they'll scan it just to see what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's genius. Like, he came up with that on his own. And it's like,
great.
You probably would never think that. But I know at least 3 people have asked me, what is that?
Wow.
And it's really cool because it's one of those things, like you said. I got one of the postcards. I put it up on my fridge, but that's where it was.
Yeah.
And if I needed, and I didn't put those numbers in my phone, so if I needed them, I'd have to go over there to the fridge and be like,
Right.
okay. If I'm sharing it with somebody or whatever, it's like, what was that number again? You got to look it up on the internet. So yeah, I think that the card thing, it's a conversation starter. It's a good way to promote your business, and it supports a cause. It's really cool. So I want to talk about, if I can, a little bit about that side of it, the story behind it, because, I put out last year, I kind of told people about my struggle with mental health and where it had led me, and it's still kind of a new journey for me. I have done really well. I feel like for the most part, there's still a lot of stuff I'm working out because it is a journey and it's not an overnight deal. But, one thing that happened for me, I made a video about what happened to me in my struggle.
Yeah.
And you were part of that. And, it's been really kind of eye-opening. I'm almost wondering if you've had any experiences with this, but I know for me, like, I shared that video, and I've probably had now close to 12 people reach out to me about, getting checked out and going to the doctor and this, that, and the other, and tell me about, I just, I don't feel depressed, but I just don't feel good, and this, that, and the other, and, all kinds of stuff that I'm like, just go to the doctor. It's not a big deal.
Right.
And most of them go, and they find out that they need, some simple little fix to help them for whatever reason. And then I've had some of them reach out to me and be like, are you in therapy? Who do you go see? That sort of thing. And it's just, for me, it's been eye-opening that so many people are nervous to talk about that or address that.
Right.
Have you had anybody reach out to you, or have you seen any kind of effects, you think, from you sharing that story or talking about it or sharing the cards or anything like that?
Yeah, so we've definitely gotten a handful of either Facebook messages or emails of, mostly what it is, hey, I'm a veteran. I got back from Afghanistan. I was homeless. I was, PTSD, really struggling. And, it wasn't until I could get, mental health care through the VA system or something that, really things turned around for me. Now I'm a full-time mechanic at, XYZ dealership, and, things are better now. So I hear a lot of people's success stories of, this is what I went through, and I'm glad that you're sharing the message you are to impact people that are going through what I've already been through, hoping that for them it's not as challenging of a process as it was for me, because I tried to do it on my own for too long.
Right.
Yeah.
So we get a lot, probably I would say predominantly that, of I've been through it, thanks for sharing, so that the future.
How often do you get people reaching out saying that kind of stuff to you?
I would say not terribly often, maybe every other month we're getting somebody that's saying
Still, that's pretty good.
But I've even seen, I try not to lurk much these days on the Facebook pages. So that's really where I started off. And really that's all we've ever done is just promoting the product on Facebook groups. And we got to the point where we're so busy I don't have to do any promotion, anything like that. So I try not to pay much attention to it because there is some competition out there in those same Facebook groups and whatever. I try not to pay attention to, but every now and then I'll go and I'll lurk a little bit, and I'll see people that say something to the extent of like, yeah, well, you should look at 132 Fab because they have a great message behind the business, and they're trying to promote mental health and destigmatize and basically just defending us and saying like, hey, if you're going to give someone business, you should give them business for this reason, because it's more than just the product. And so we see that as well, of people excited to support
something bigger than just a product.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of a slippery slope almost. Because I mean, I have been accused of trying, claiming that I support some cause and I'm really just riding the coattails and yada yada. I have been accused of that, and it's not not fun to get that, and that's not what it is. So you don't want it to seem like that,
right.
But
yeah, I was going to ask. That was going to be my next thing. Is I know you and I have had conversations before, and Cody can probably jump in there and talk a little bit more about this too, because it's a conversation we've had. But talk a little bit about some of those obstacles, like some of the haters and the competition that you've seen, and not necessarily talking bad about people, but I think it's good for us to have conversation about that perception when you're looking at things from the outside in versus from the inside out. What that's been like for you as a new business owner.
Yeah, so I would say probably one of the big things that we're, lack of a better word, constantly fighting is getting complaints about our pricing. And it's from people that aren't customers and aren't going to be customers and wouldn't be customers.
Does that sound familiar?
Sounds pretty human, to be honest. I see it everywhere. So.
As a photographer, do you get complaints about your pricing?
We'll touch on that eventually.
I do get it though, and I've been exposed to it through my day job, where my day job is we're a fabrication shop, and often we'll get people that come to us and say, hey, I was going to order this online, but I want to support local business, or whatever. Or I was going to order this online, but I wanted to see if you could do it cheaper. And when someone comes to us,
how do you get over that?
They look at they see the product and they assign in their head of like a dollar and cent value to that product and expect I should be paying X number of dollars for this product because all it does is this and blah, 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 blah. And they don't look at our material costs, our labor costs, our consumables and our equipment notes, all these prices that go into things.
Right.
And so that's a very, like Cody said, it's a very human thing of when you're on the other side of the equation, that's all you can see. And I understand that.
Yeah.
What do you do? Go ahead.
I was going to say, we've all got some kind of product that we see that is that looks absolutely ridiculous for the money.
Yeah.
But obviously the time and work behind it is where the value's at.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. What do you do with those obligations? Like, how do you address them at all, or do you just move on?
I must admit that there's probably been 2 or 3 occasions that I've tried to address it. Really, I know better than to even address it because at the end of the day, that person wasn't going to be a customer anyway.
They're just saying something just to complain.
And I think I definitely understand that they weren't going to be a customer anyway, but I view them as them providing friction for people that would be customers.
Right.
And I don't want this particular individual to obstruct another sale. And so that's why I almost want to defend myself. But I know you can quickly dig a deeper hole. Mm-hmm. So I largely try not to address it. There's been a couple times that I've addressed different things. And really on pricing, I'm just, at this point, I'm not discussing pricing. But we do have some products that we keep in stock. We have some products that, look, we're turning them out as fast as we can, but we're back ordered. Mm-hmm. And so I've had people complain about that. Basically, what we do is we do what I would call a pre-sale. It's not even really a pre-order because it's not like this product hasn't been released yet. It's released. It's just it's going to be a month before I can ship your product out, and not because it takes a month to make, but that's just how backlogged I am. Currently, and so I've seen a couple times, hey, well, they're out of stock. And I'll get on there. I'm like, kind of yes and no. You can go ahead and order today to get on the list. And I would encourage you to do that if you do want the product, because if you're waiting for it to say in stock, you might wait a long time.
Yeah.
So I have addressed that. but I try not to do it often. And again, like pricing, I did kind of get in that explaining myself situation once. I basically laid out to a guy. I said, I can do everything but ship you the actual product, and it's still going to cost me 50%. Before we even talk about the cost of the product, between some of my fixed costs or website hosting, things of that sort, taxes, my shipping fees, free shipping's not free.
Yeah.
Things of that sort.
Right.
And so I've gone through like explaining all of the costs that he doesn't even see. And at the end of the day, who did it sway? Nobody.
Right.
So 90% of the people you tell that aren't going to listen anyway.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a common everyday.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're selling any kind of product, which most businesses, you're offering whether it's a service or an actual physical product, they're facing that same thing. One of our clients, huge international major manufacturer, and similar situation.
Yeah.
It says out of stock on their website, but you can still order the product. And most of the people don't understand that. Like, if you want that product, you go in there, and even though it says out of stock, you buy it. Well, it tells them, hey, somebody wants this thing, and it helps get that order out a little bit faster than if you're just sitting there waiting for it to say in stock.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times running their socials you see people saying, every time I go, it says it's out of stock. And we're like, well, go ahead and pay for it and order it, and maybe that will encourage them to make it. Or when it is made,
yours gets shipped sooner.
Yeah, yours is on the list. You're already there. You don't have to try to fight for when it does drop.
Right.
And I bet there's so many people out there that just they don't get it. That's the hard part, is that for me in being a business owner, and I get off my soapbox, but I'm new, you're new, but I think everybody feels it in the fact that education, understanding,
right.
There's so much more now. I'm so much more lenient with a business now that I own a business than I was beforehand.
Absolutely.
But then there's also times where I'm not, because I'm also in business going, well, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I would say that there are times where, like, I go to a restaurant and I'll order something there. Oh, we're out of that. Okay, I'll just change it because I get it. I know what they're going through now. They're dealing with, they're dealing with the same thing I'm dealing with. They can't get stuff because whoever's trying to get it, and it's out of stock for them, and then it's passed down to, and it just becomes a mess. And then you got things like, I'm glad we don't have to deal with this, but you have to deal with it. Like right now, shipping stuff is a nightmare.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not uncommon for me just to order something and go, like, when I need it, I don't wait till I need something the last minute. It's like, if something pops in my head and I'm like, I need to go ahead and get that, I go ahead and get it because I know I might be waiting for it for a while.
Yeah.
And now I've gotten to the point where it doesn't even frustrate me anymore if I get a notification that says, your item's on the way, but it's running late. I'm like, of course it is. I knew it was going to be.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine, like, one thing you didn't talk about, I'll tell everybody that's listening, is the fact that you do work not a 9 to 5, but you work a day job.
6 to 6.
Yeah.
You work a 50, 60 hour, sometimes 70 hour a week day job, and you're doing this after hours and on the weekends.
Yeah.
And you're literally working like can to can.
Yeah.
And for me, I guess I kind of want to I want to ask you a question about this, because for the longest time, like me starting to build this business, I did the same thing. I was by myself, and I was just working, and sometimes I'd be working until super late at night, just working all the time. And eventually I got to the point where it's like, I need to take care of myself a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I started learning how to try to cut off at 5. It's not always doable. This week has been one of those weeks. It's just one of those months. But for the most part, I do. I try to have that where it's like, at the end of the day on Friday, it's done. Whether I want to come up here or not, unless there's something super pressing, I just don't do it. So my thing is, you never planned to do this, and then it kind of fell in your lap accidentally. And you're like doing it. It's successful. You haven't had to put a bunch of, money in marketing and stuff, not yet, into it and all that. What drives you to do this? Because you haven't really. I'm going to like lay some of your business out there. You haven't really. I mean, you've made money off of it, but you personally, it hasn't like made you a ton of money.
Right.
So like, why do it? Because you have a good day job too.
Yeah.
Like why?
Yeah. I'm a yes man. I think it's a lot of it.
100% understand.
I'll drink to that.
I think we've definitely talked about it before, and it's a lesson I'm trying to learn, and this is very pertinent to what you stated. But no is a complete sentence, and I'm saying that so I can hear it. Mm-hmm. No period. That's a full sentence in the English language. But that's not who I am, and so going all the way back to the beginning. Again, I did not post a picture of my computer monitor in my toolbox because I wanted to sell a bunch of those, but a guy asked for it. So sure, yeah, I'll do it.
Hands are tied now, huh?
My hands are tied. There's nothing I can do about it. He asked, I got to do it. And I think that a lot of what started it, and then it did definitely get fun when I was, shipping 2 or 3 of them a week. Right. I was like, oh, this is fun.
It's awesome,
I get to play business owner.
Yeah.
I'm packing this. I'm shipping it.
What about now?
It's fun. Now, I would say some of the fun isn't there anymore because I've done enough. And this is something that we can both relate to in a different sense of, you remember when we were playing with old cars, mm-hmm. and we got to the point where you could see a 70 Charger drive by and you didn't even look at it. Mm-hmm. Because I can't tell you how many of those I've driven.
Right.
A Plymouth Superbird.
Yeah, no.
Terrible car. It's garbage, And I can say that because I've lived it.
We just lost all of our listeners.
Yeah, goodbye. Goodbye. I can say that because I've lived it enough that tainted is not the right word, but it's lost its luster, mm-hmm. I think. And so I think that's where I'm at, where it's like nothing's really changed. It's just I've done it enough that it's kind of started to lose its luster. But kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, what really keeps me going still is just trying to. There are still people that want the product, and so I'm still going to fulfill that. Yeah. But like I said, what really motivates me, and I made a Facebook post about this at the beginning of the year, was we've reached X number of people. I think at the time we were at 800 sales or something. And I said, I want to continue to keep having good sales because I want to continue putting a business card in people's hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I say business card. Granted, we do have info on the back side of it, but on the main colorful side of the business card, I have no contact info. There's not the website, not an email address. Yeah. The main side of my business card is not about me. I do have some info on the back. Granted, there's a QR code on the back of it that'll take you to the About Us page of our website. That's Tim's story. Mm-hmm. And I do have the website typed out there in case someone doesn't know how to scan a QR code or whatever. I still want to be able to get the story to them, but again, my business card isn't meant to get business. And I think that's really probably my big drive still to this day.
Yeah.
Is that my business card isn't to get business. It's to put this message in people's hands. And not to get super deep on things, but I don't even know, but we may have saved somebody's life by now and we don't even know it.
Yeah.
And that's really what we've set out to do, is because I've lived that.
Yeah.
Driving in a car at night, not knowing if we're going to go to a funeral next week or not. Mm-hmm. And I have gone to that funeral next week.
Yeah.
So here's why I started getting emotional. But that's really, and it's like I said, I've been accused of not really feeling this way, but I can't convince you one way or another if this is real or not. Right. But for me, it is. And at the end of the day, if I work 100 hours a week for years, and don't make a dime off of it, but I get an email one day that says, "Hey, by the way, that card saved my life. Mm-hmm. It's all worth it."
Yeah.
And it's not just about saving someone's life either; it's saving their quality of life,
right,
as well. That's one thing one big thing I talk about in Tim's story. As I said, it hurts my heart that I lost a friend, but what hurts even worse is to know that I had a friend that struggled on his own.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows how long he struggled for.
Yeah.
Because he never spoke to anybody about it.
Yeah.
But I said that's what really breaks my heart is to know that, I'm a lover, like just that's who I am, and so to know that someone I loved was
It's a
in
hard
pain.
pill to swallow.
Yeah. So that's like, I guess in a very long way of answering that sentence.
Responsibility.
Yeah.
It's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
And I was going to add to that, not all businesses relate to this. We have a pretty personal business where on a day-to-day relationship with people and emails and text messages and phone calls and meetings, and then you go to the client, you shoot the client, everybody's happy, and you're interacting with them versus kind of who you're talking with. They are very secluded. I would think.
Yeah.
Even though they may be in a factory or a mechanic shop or a fabrication shop or whatever with people around them, most of what you guys do, guys like you and mechanics and stuff like that, most of the time they're working on the car by themselves. Headphones in.
Mm-hmm.
They may have a conversation over lunch, but for the most part, and even still, as someone who has had a journey with mental health, I can tell you, I've always been a super social person. I've always had people around me and people wanting to hang out with me, and you were one of those people, and always doing stuff. Always had people you could call. Always had people to go hang out with, and this, that, and the other. But you're right. I mean, people don't realize when you're struggling with something, that sickness will make you think that you're alone when you're not.
Yeah.
And you're right. Anybody, Tim, me, anybody out there that they can get to a place where it's like every second, whether you're with people around you or not, you can feel alone.
Yeah.
You can feel you start to tell yourself and believe that nobody cares about you, nobody wants you here. People say they want you around or they love you or whatever. It's not true. It's that fight. It's that fight. It's a dark fight. It's a silent fight. A lot of times you can't recognize it. Certain people definitely will keep you from recognizing it, or you're kind of ashamed of it, so you won't let people know it's as bad as you think it is. And little things like, because a lot of people might say, well, what does a card matter? Well, it matters a lot. Matters a lot because it will things like that will fall into your lap, and I think get you at least asking the question.
Yeah.
Make you pause. The great thing about that card is 988's on there, and people may not know this, but that's you can call or text that, and
24/7.
24/7 anytime you want to. And a lot of times, if like I'm not a phone call person, I'm not gonna call you. I'm definitely not the kind of person that wants to sit around and talk about my feelings. I'm just not that kind of guy. But to say that I can send a text message to somebody anonymously and have a conversation and then kind of talk me down, whether I'm mad, whether I'm sad, whatever it is, you're right. You don't know how many people that have probably done that just to try it. Just to try it in the moment. It's kind of cliche, but it's kind of like the old adage of going to a hotel and seeing the Bible in the drawer.
Yeah.
Whether you're religious or not, it makes you pause and ask a question like, "What am I doing with my life?" kind of thing. So, I mean, it's kind of bigger than yourself, and I like that. And I like the fact that you do feel that responsibility, because most people, I think, especially if you don't have any kind of real mission behind what you're doing, burnout's a thing. We've talked about that, and I think that if you don't have any kind of real sustenance behind what you're doing, there's no mission, there's nothing holding you there other than a paycheck, you burn out real quick and you'll drop it.
Yeah.
And so that's, we've added multiple nonprofits to what we do, sponsoring people and helping them out.
Right.
We've got some businesses we help out for free just because I like them,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of stuff does help you get that kind of passion back every now and then. Whenever you're like you said, you lose that luster, you kind of have to have a way that
You have to have some kind of path that keeps you balanced, for sure.
Yeah.
Can't always be about money.
right. And and Cody, you can talk on this too, but as creatives, that's probably the hardest part is you get in this routine of everything's just
Just a bunch of deadlines. Really.
yeah, and you lose that passion for good video and quality and that sort of thing, and you're like, oh, I got to keep this level because we've built this reputation or whatever,
Right.
and then you're just like checking off the box, and you're just like, I just want a day off. And that becomes, I just want a week off, and that just becomes,
I don't ever want to do this
anymore.
again.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, you haven't done a ton of marketing,
Right.
but what do you think drives people back to buying your stuff? And I know you know the answer to this, but I kind of want you to vocalize it from your standpoint.
I think maybe I don't know where you're leading me to exactly. But
so one thing we've talked about is how important it is to connect to your community.
Sure.
That each business has a way to connect to that, and you have found a way to do that. Pretty simple way, but you've had some competition. Other people try to do what you do, and yet you're still able to make sales. And still, in my opinion, I think most of those people probably withered out over time, just because you stay consistent. But you've also had times where people have tried to talk down about your product, whether it's about price or, why is he charging for this or that or other, and you've actually had people come to defend you. So that's kind of where I'm going with it. I kind of want you to talk a little bit about that, how you've connected with that community and why you think that that's happened.
yeah, I forget if I was listening to a podcast recently or audiobook. I kind of throughout my day, I'm consuming one of those two forms of content. But I don't remember where it was, but basically the takeaway was that the perception is far more important than the product. The quality of your product, whatever, doesn't matter really. What matters is how people perceive your product. And so, one thing we've done recently, and this is going to get a little sidetracked from the topic, but I'll try to remember to bring it back. One thing we've done recently, we've seen our sales just about double in a 2 or 3 month period. And what we did is we really haven't done any new marketing. But what we did do is we've revamped our website, updated our product photos, updated our descriptions. And I think that's really about it. Something we did, when did we start that? January, I think. Started doing some more social media posting, and we even had we got a lead through, I think, Facebook. That guy sent us a message, and he said, "Hey, I'm trying to see if y'all are a real company or not."
Oh my goodness.
And of course, Kayla and I laughed at that and was like, well, "This is so weird," but it brought up a good point. And I said to her, I said, I think one of the important things about posting content is not really even trying to generate new sales, but it's for someone to be able to come to our page and determine that for themselves. Is this a real company or not?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Is this and I know I do it as a customer myself. I can go to your page and get an idea of what size company you are. And so I forgot how I was going to segue back. But so yeah, I think people's perception of us is why we were able to remain on top. And so you already mentioned this, but I started to talk about how where we got started was Facebook groups. And so I'll poke my head in a Facebook group every now and then, and someone will say, "Hey, how's everybody mounting their computer monitor?" And a couple people will say, "Hey, use the 132 fab computer monitor mount." And, you'll get some people that, oh, you can do this, you can do that. But at the end of the day, we're always getting a handful of people. And I remember early on when I first noticed that people were shouting us out. Because at the time, every day I'd get on these Facebook groups and I would just scroll until I saw something where I was like, hey, this guy could use my product. And I would comment, send him a link to the product, whatever. The first time I saw someone else share my link, I said, oh, I'm getting free marketing. And I remember looking up. I said, well, this guy's probably a previous customer. And I looked it up and he was not.
Interesting.
And it continued to happen. Every time I'd see someone shouting me out, they weren't a customer. So which told me a couple things. It told me what our reach was, and it was bigger than our customer base. And as a small business, that was huge. Surprising to me. We are literally a word of mouth only small business, and we're reaching more than just customers. And I don't know, maybe that's just foolish to think, but in my head, I'm thinking the only people that really have any form of perception of us are the people that have done business with us. So yeah, that's pretty neat to see that, and we continue to see that, and so through this, not surge, but for lack of a better term, a surge of competition. What I've seen reading those comments is people coming to our defense, and like I already hit on, talk about, well, yeah, you've got options, but you should support this business because this is what they stand for. And so I think that's that perception. Yeah. I think perception's the big, if you could take one word, perception's the big word that's really made the difference for us.
Yeah. And I want to keep going with that because you do a lot of stuff. I was kind of envious of some of the stuff you get to do because you end up doing it. And I'm like, and I guess it's because I know you, but it's like, you're not like a artist, Yeah. You're like a normal guy, if there's such thing. But like if people met you, Zack is not, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's just like just your personality. Like you're not a guy that like decorates or there's not a lot of aesthetic to your life, but there are those touches of it that really impressed me. One of those was the day that I came over and you'd put lights on your toolbox. Yeah. And I was like, that's not like you. But the thing where I'm going with that is your presentation is in my opinion is almost more impressive than some of the stuff I get from major people. Yeah. And I want you to talk about that because like your packaging is, I know you probably want to continue to strive for it to be better, but for me it's something I'm super impressed with because you start out kind of with basic stuff when you first started shipping it. Now you've kind of spent a lot of money, I think, in getting some custom stuff like your tape and your labels and all that kind of stuff. So talk to me a little bit about that, where your mindset comes from, how you perceive that sort of thing. Kind of unpack that a little bit for me. Yeah, I'm trying. No pun intended.
Trying to remember. I think it was fairly early on that I first started using the custom tape with my logo on it, and again, not doing a whole lot in sales, whatever, and I was paying 4 times as much for that tape for what the tape normally costs. For non-branded tape. But to me, and this is not based on anything I've ever heard, it's just my thought. But to me, when a customer receives a product and they look at the box, they go ahead and have some preconceived notions about what the product's going to be inside and what, how high of esteem to hold the company that has shipped that product. Yeah. So, and my thought is, if I can send them, at the time I was getting boxes with my logo printed on them, and then I would get tape with my logo on it. And I thought, if that box shows up on your doorstep and you look at it and go, oh, this is professional. And so if there are any shortcomings with the presentation of the product itself, you may overlook it because you're already thinking this is going to be a professional, high-quality product. Yeah. And so when you open it and you look at it, you see professional, high quality. Even if I would look at that and go, oh, man, there's a little burr on it I forgot to get off.
Yeah.
Even if it...
You're a little more forgiving if it's
Exactly.
nicer and it's not just in bubble wrap and
Exactly.
or a pre-used box from Amazon or whatever.
Right.
So even though they teach you not to judge a book by its cover,
We do.
that's the way we go.
I think we do, at least.
Yeah.
And so
It's hard not to.
For me, that's been from the very beginning, or nearly, been very important to me, is, not just using clear tape, but we're using paper tape. I forget what you call it even nowadays. I buy so much of it, but the
Fancy stuff.
fancy stuff. When you buy it from Amazon, our box looks like that box.
That's what I was going to say is like, I order stuff all the time and from multiple manufacturers. And I can't tell you, other than Amazon, anybody that sends me anything that's got tape on it with their logo on it. And shout out to Lucid Ink. I'm going to throw him out there because he's going to be next on the podcast. But Justin over at Lucid Ink, that was one of the things they did. They're a T-shirt company. Well, what do you do when you come get your T-shirts? You pick up a big box, right? And whenever you go to a sporting event or any kind of event really where there's a ton of T-shirts, what does everybody do? They've got the boxes back there. So they went and had their logos and stuff printed on the boxes. They went and had all that done because it's free marketing and advertising. Right. And I saw recently where somebody posted about that. They were holding their box and gave them a shout out talking about how great the shirts were. Yeah. And I was like, man, that's so good. That's so smart. And then like and that really impressed me. Like when you went for the tape, when you went for the nicer card, when you went for the stickers, you added the label to your hardware. Yeah. Like that was really, to me, I was like, he gets it. Like he gets that presentation is a very, very important thing to customer satisfaction. So many people, I think, miss that. Yeah. Like they really do. It's not being fake. It's just being like, hey, this is what, we pride ourselves on giving you the very best quality part that we can. Right. And you and I have talked about that too, about, caster spacers being kind of like your big thing, after the monitor mounts that become a big thing. But even like you breaking down like the difference between how you make it versus how other people make it, the quality's there with the steel first off, but then like how you weld it and how it's constructed and how it's made. And then on top of it, you could just ship it like that and not have to paint it. But instead of just going and getting the cheapest paint possible, you're buying like one of the most expensive paints that you can get, out of a can. And I'm like, he gets it. Like he really does, because I'm that way. Like something comes to me and it's in a junk package. I'm like,
plain brown box.
I mean, it can be a great product, but I'm always going to second guess it. Always. Yeah. Even if it's fantastic. Or you pay for a quality product. I'm not going to name the brand, but recently I bought a very expensive pair of boots. And granted, it was a box, and the boots box was inside of another box, but it was just a brown box. Yeah. With just one strip of tape on it.
Clear tape.
Clear tape.
And I just got one of those boxes today.
Yeah, and I open it, and I mean, their brand is on the box, but like on the inside, it just felt like a normal shoe box. Mm-hmm. There's no frills to it. And I get it, you're trying to keep costs down and everything, but I was like,
I think you and I are the same. We purchase a lot of things and get a lot of things shipped to us. So much so that when a box shows up on your doorstep, you don't know what's in it. Mm-hmm. So you don't immediately get excited.
I had that happen yesterday.
And I kind of went from the second you lay your eyes on the box, you know what you're getting. Right. Yeah. And I'm already excited.
Like it's not anything fancy, but I've been wanting a vacuum at my house to clean my car with. And I ordered one. I had someone recommend, get this one or whatever. And I was like, well, it looks just like a, Craftsman vacuum. What's the difference? So it came yesterday, and I walk up and I go, what is that? And that's the thing. It's like, it wasn't clear tape. It was the paper tape or whatever. Mm-hmm. It was brown, and it looked seamless the way they had taped it. Mm-hmm. And then the box has all these really cool designs and stuff and logos and everything on, but it didn't have their name on it. And I was just like, oh, I want to open this. And I open it, and inside the same thing. It's it's not just styrofoam and plastic. Like it felt like a couture type box for a vacuum, and I'm like, yeah, this is what's up. And but yeah, I think that you know, that speaks volumes to where you are, where you've came from, and then like where you're going, because I feel like you've kind of got a product that most people kind of slept on a little bit, and then you got real ahead of the game. And I think that a few years down the road, and you talked about you've got some other stuff in the pipeline.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be cool too, to see like where it goes from there and where it goes from here and that sort of thing. So
Especially since you've already laid out a foundation. You've got your story.
Right.
mm-hmm.
Your customers see that you care. You're dedicated to the product.
Yeah.
Which is huge, especially when it comes to shipping stuff. Once you've got all that laid out and you know where you're going, then it's really just up to building a foundation with a community and, like you said, free marketing from the people that care.
Yeah. I think
awesome.
it's something I hadn't really discussed yet, but I started doing the caster spacers a little over a year ago, January 2024. And I remember that being explosive at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my gosh, I've never done this much business. This is insane. And you'll probably remember this, Roddy. I remember saying, oh, this is insane, but this is just a bubble. When is it going to end?
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was
says
actually
that.
buying a new vehicle right at the time.
He still says that. He still keeps saying, but I wanted to keep going and do different things, but I'm just waiting for this bubble to pop. And what if this is, what if it's just a long term and then it goes away? And I'm like, dude, if it ain't going away by now, it's not going away.
Yeah. I remember like right at that time of buying a new vehicle, and we had the conversation, and I was like, I don't know if I can afford this vehicle, whatever, and I'm not going to take this business income like into consideration because this is going to be gone in a couple months. And I think we've trended upward every single month since then.
Yeah.
And I think that again goes into kind of establishing that foundation based off of having pride in the product, based on what we stand for, and and just that strong perception that the community has of us and our product.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we kind of, I just had this conversation yesterday, day before, explaining to someone the business, had never heard of it, whatever, and said, well, wait a minute, are you a nonprofit promoting mental health, or are you a company selling toolbox products? I said, well, we're both.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the two pillars we stand on, and one is not larger than the other.
Yeah.
I feel like that's interesting because there's not a lot of people that can pair their business with stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it means a lot.
Yeah. Especially doing what you're doing. That's again, and I tell Zach this all the time, and it's not just like because he's my friend or whatever. It's like, it's really neat to me when you're a business owner and you can understand what other businesses are going through. It's even better whenever you can like watch somebody else go through something. You're like, man, I wish I would have done that.
Yeah.
Like I tell you all the time, if I had to go back 6 years ago with the knowledge I have now, I probably would have done just like Zach has done. Because in my opinion, like if there's a model for how to start your own business and build it, he's done not everything perfect, but everything right. I ran off and quit my job to go start this business. You didn't. And now looking back, I was like, yeah, that struggle built me and taught me, but I had to rush so quickly. You know what I mean? I had to rush so quickly to get where I was. How many mistakes did I make along the way, or this, that, and the other? Didn't plan it out. Versus what you've done is you had the day job, and it was a side hustle that you built into a second job that hopefully will become your empire, whatever. Mm-hmm. You started out by yourself, doing what you could for yourself, slowly improving on the product, the packaging, the look, the branding, the whole 9 yards, until the point where you grew to where you could hire employees. Mm-hmm. Instead of me getting to a point where it was a necessity to buy employees. So I'm pointing out my wrongs and your rights, but I think that's important for people to look at that. Like if you're going into, if you're 26, Okay, so if you're in your early 20s and you're looking to start a business, you can do it. Okay, but you can't, or I would recommend not just quitting your day job and running out there and
Right.
starting a business.
Right.
Because I can tell you the way that I did it, it's taken me 6 years to get to a point where, sure, I've got a lot of nice things and this, that, and the other, but I feel like I did so much rushed.
Yeah.
I won't say wrong because it worked.
You missed out on a lot of details.
But yeah, there were so many things that now it's like where I'm at now. It's like I wish I could have done it differently because I could have had so much more stuff in place that I'm having to put in place now.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that I say all that to say this is I don't think you're on a bubble. I think you're on a path to success because you were careful, and not to say that you knew what you were doing, but you just the path that you chose was correct. And I think probably you did that based off of your past experiences of who you worked for and how you worked for them and who you saw doing what right and what wrong and that sort of thing. So last little thing before we wrap it up, if you could sit down, if you had somebody sit down that was early 20s, your age or whatever, and they go, man, I really want to start a business, but I don't know where to start. I don't know what I need to do. What would be your elevator speech to them?
I hadn't thought that one out.
Yeah, I know. I want to throw you a curveball.
Well, for one, I heard it put perfectly that your goal in business should not be to make money. It should be to solve a problem for someone. Genuinely. Your passion should be making a problem not a problem for someone anymore and find a way to make money off of that. But if your number one goal is profit, you're already wrong from step one. And so, and I don't just mean like in the way that I'm doing it, but, seek out that this is a genuine issue. Hey, I know companies struggle with handling their own marketing, particularly, small business, whatever. As a small business owner, you say, oh, I'll make Facebook posts, whatever. And that doesn't happen. So you see, hey, they genuinely have a hard time with doing their Facebook posts. So I'm going to solve that problem for them. And I'm going to offer my marketing services and I'll run their social media account for them.
Right.
And I'll charge them for it. But the first primary goal was to solve that problem for that business owner. So now that business owner can focus on working in his shop.
Right.
Or, balancing in the books or making sure that inventory gets ordered.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about it that way, I think that's step one. That's where your head needs to be if you're going to be getting into business at all, period, the end. Whatever business it is. Make the goal to solve a problem for somebody, not to make a profit.
Yeah.
I wish more people knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the truth is you can't start with I'm going into business to make money.
Yeah.
Because all you end up doing is chasing profits and dollars.
Yeah.
And you miss out on what you're actually there
Right.
for. You'll sacrifice it for sure.
Yeah. And real quick to add on to something you were saying earlier about starting off. I've heard the argument before. Well, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to quit my day job and I'm going to jump in because that's going to hold my feet to the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of what you talked about. Now that forces me to rush things and whatever and not do things perfectly. And before you know it, this isn't fun anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Or, man, I had a bad month and I can't afford it. Now I've got to go back to work.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm also, and I have given that advice in the last month. Hey, don't quit your day job.
Mm-hmm.
Because I got that, was told that same elevator pitch of, well, it's going to hold my feet to the fire and it's going to force me to be successful.
Yep.
It's going to force you to give up on this quickly.
Right.
The first, first sign of friction.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to go back to your day job.
Yep. Desperation will send you into a spiral. I mean, I'll let you go in a second, but I did that, 3 years in or 2 years in. No. Yeah, 2 years in, I ended up making a sacrifice, which I didn't sacrifice the business. I still had the business, but I chose to let someone be my main client. That trapped me. Basically, I was, granted, I was still sending them an invoice and they were writing me a check for my business, and I had 3 other clients, small clients or whatever, but it was like working another day job basically. Inside, I did exactly what you said, and then it took me being in that position for 3 years, learning, building, saving to make sure I didn't make that mistake a second time, so that when I did leave there, this is where I am now. But it is true. You have to make. It will hold your feet to the fire, but at what cost is the thing. Right. And that's where I was. Is like there's been a lot of compromises I've had to make, which have caused me to step back and go, that's probably not good for my mental health, on top of other struggles. But it's like, I mean, it's aged me. It's stressed me out. It's hurt my body. You don't think about those kind of things. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, it's like now, sure, I do have full-time staff and people working for me in an office and all that kind of stuff. That looks great on the outside. But now my day job is going back and doing stuff I should have done 3 years ago to get my business in order, so it's a lot more organized.
Yeah. Working in manufacturing, this is very, very common in manufacturing, but the Toyota manufacturing method has been adopted by most large manufacturers. Really, it's called lean manufacturing. And there's some principles of lean. Lean identifies 8 specific wastes. And then lean has technically 6 S's. If you listen to the book, 2 Second Lean, by Paul A. Akers, I think. Anyways, free audio book. You can download the app. Shameless plug, free plug, whatever.
Not sponsored.
Doesn't benefit me any. But that particular author, he highlights 3 S's. And getting off on a tangent on that, it's not all of that's important, but one thing that you learn through learning about lean is the Japanese people have a term called Kaizen, which is essentially the dedication to continuous improvement. And so I do this fairly often, is I take a mental audit of the processes we're doing and the supplies we're using, whatever. But is this the most efficient we can do it? And the other question that gets posed is, does this add value to the customer? And once you ask yourself those 2 things, you'll probably come out of the other side having refined the product or the process.
Yeah.
And so, if you're in business marketing, you can still ask yourself those things. I think lean can be applied to a lot of things outside of manufacturing, even though manufacturing is what it's for.
Right.
And so, kind of going back to what the topic we're on, when you start off, start slow, start lean. Start thinking about, how can I refine this? How can I do this most efficiently? And is this thing I'm offering, does this add value to my customer? And you can trim out all the waste.
Yeah.
So now, when you're ready to go full time and take that step, you don't have to do like you're talking about. Today I'm working on stuff that I should have done 3 years ago when I didn't have anybody working for me.
Right.
We've already got that all ironed out.
Yeah.
And we're all, doing the best we can in business. This business is making the most profit we can, and I can share that with the employees.
I feel like the best way to put that all into one sentence is be purposeful and not profitable.
Yeah.
Especially when you start out.
Yeah.
And your goal is to build a foundation.
Yeah.
And obviously we have 2 different sides in this room of how business can start, but at the end of the day, you're never too old. If you have the dedication to do it, it can obviously still work out. So
yeah,
that's a big thing.
I'll end us with this. At my BNI group the other day, I gave them a quote, as Albert Einstein says. It says, once you stop learning, you start dying. And I believe that. And I say that because over the weekend I went into a social media class at a conference that we went to, and I was like, I wasn't expecting to get anything out of it because typically I don't do things when in social media managing and marketing. I don't do things like most people do. I don't follow the trends.
Right.
We see it all the time. We come on the backs of people who post 3 times a week, and they want to get a generic Canva print, and nothing against Canva. We use Canva all the time. I've been using it all day to day. But most people just go in, they get a template, they'll change the words and maybe add a picture to it at most, and then put that out and think that that's marketing and that's creating content. I'm like, no, that's not it. But anyway, I say this is like, I went into that class not thinking I was going to get anything out of it and ended up getting a lot out of it, mainly because the gentleman that was doing it, he's got a huge successful company. They manage huge companies. Social medias all over the country and probably all over the world, and they're way bigger than we are. But it was nice because the big thing I got out of it was affirmation of they're doing what I'm doing, or I'm doing what they're doing, however you want to look at it. But I was like, oh, I didn't expect hear that today. Yeah. It's like him say, yeah, I'm posting for this account three times a day, which is probably the to get the highest maximum, reach and impressions and things like that is the best, but at a minimum do 7 days a week, once a day. And I was like, that's the first time I've heard that in 6 years of doing this. So
that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah. So it is. I mean, never ever stop learning. Always. I mean, I learned from you, and obviously I've been in business longer than you have. And not that I'm that much bigger than you, but it is. It's like you can't stop learning. You can't ever not learn enough whenever you're trying to grow.
Right.
Yeah. Ever.
She can always be better.
Yeah.
Always room for improvement.
Like I said, continuous improvement.
Yeah. Thank you for coming to the podcast.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah. So next time we're hopefully, if he didn't cancel on us, going to have Justin Sebring from Lucid Inc. And then we've got some other special guests. I think the guys from Waze are going to come see us. Shout out to Waze Energy. Also, another company that supports. They have a nonprofit cause that they give part of their proceeds to veterans, but they also sell a product. So be good to kind of hear their perspective on things too.
Yeah,
you'll hear more about them in a future episode.
Yeah, I think so for sure. So that's going to do it for now. Thanks, guys, for listening.
See you.